Beautiful. Okay, well, welcome to our Flawless Face workshop. This is all about foundations, obviously with our brand new foundation launch, our Time-Wise 3D Foundations. Who's had a chance to try or play with the new foundations so far? I've got to say, most of us, I know for me personally, being in Mary Kay for like nearly 23 years, how many years are you up to now? 17, 14, 15? No, 11. You've put a few more years on you than you deserve. I guess just amongst us, like, there's always that initial sort of hesitation where it's like, oh, another change. But then when we start trying the product and we start playing it, they're super impressive. And they really are a beautiful product, but they're obviously a little bit different. So we're going to cover a wide variety of things in our Flawless Face workshop tonight to give you a clear understanding of not just working with these brand new foundation products, but also giving you that overview of all of the foundation products and how you can work with, all of the foundation products that we've got with your client base. Because even though this is new, the Time-Wise 3D, the new liquid foundations, aren't actually going to be suitable for every client that you've got. So it's not just suddenly we've got them launched, so let's just give them to everybody. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of system. So we do have a lot of other foundation options. So we want to sort of cover all of that with you, as well as give you the information on the new foundation. So, did that change slides, Daniel? Yeah. Good job. Okay. So really sort of just roughly so you know what we're going to cover tonight, there's really four sort of main objectives. Obviously we're going to go through and understanding how to find that perfect foundation product, but also then how you find that perfect foundation shade for each individual customer. Because like I've just said, it's not a one size fits all. Understanding some of the benefits and the similarities between the Mary Kay foundations, but also the differences. So you can narrow down, obviously, foundations for different people. We're going to look at different ways that you can create a real buzz and excitement because of the new product. And obviously, any new product launch, whether they're on the liquid foundations or not, but any new product launch is it's an opportunity, I guess, to really create buzz and excitement within your business and create and stimulate some growth and connect with people that maybe you haven't connected with before. But also the last thing that we're going to cover is understanding the importance of foundation to your business. Because even though, yes, we're a cosmetic company, skincare and foundation are the two product ranges that if that's what you focus on, they're really good products that women become loyal to. And if we can get a foundation and a skincare product right for customers, they will be loyal to you and they'll keep coming back because that's the thing that they struggle with the most. Does that make sense? So we're going to cover off on all of those kind of things tonight. The one thing I want to say to start with, and yes, our focus is definitely on foundation, but a flawless face, regardless of whatever foundation that you're using, is always going to look better if your routine starts with skincare. Okay, you can go and use 48 different foundations. You can have the most flawless coverage. You can spend a fortune on foundation, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to look as good as you can if the base is not prepped first. So skincare is always the starting point, okay? Not just for us, but particularly for our customers as well. Something for me that I definitely recommend, and this picture on the screen is actually on the inside back cover of your lookbook, okay? And I love that, so it actually does cover all the different skincare ranges that we actually have. But I guess the thing for me, if I'm even just doing a quick one-on-one appointment with a customer to colour test her or match her up and try the new foundation products, I always start with skincare. Whether she's come completely fresh-faced or not, it doesn't matter. I always go, look, we're going to do a quick cleanse and moisturise. We're just going to prep you first and then we will, try your foundation. We'll prep that base first. So even if the ultimate objective is for her just to try foundation, always start with that because then you've got that cross-selling, opportunity as well. Does that make sense? So it definitely starts with a really good skincare routine. Something that, and I know Kat will probably cover this a little bit as well, but I've done this for years and I think most of us probably do it. I get customers to do skincare over their entire face, and when they're cleansing their face, they cleanse their left hand. And, have a bit of fun with it going, everyone put up their left hand, everyone knows left from right, so you're just going to cleanse the left. They put on their, they might do their microdermabrasion or their mask on their face, they just do it on the left hand. They do all those steps of skincare on their face and just their left hand. Then when it comes to the foundation step, they do it on their left hand as well. The colour's wrong, so you have to kind of cover the fact that, yes, the colour's wrong, we know that. But then they do it on the right hand, and it shows the difference that skincare will make. Because on the right hand, where they've done nothing to it, no cleansing, no moisturising, nothing, it sits in the pores of the skin. It actually drags a little bit. It just doesn't sit as well as what it does on the left-hand side. So you almost don't have to say anything more about the benefits of skincare and that everything starts with good skin, because they actually see it. They'll feel it on their face, but they physically see it in front of them. So it's always a really good idea just to actually start with skincare. There's about a gazillion reasons why we love foundation, particularly as women. How many of us can look in the mirror going, I love my skin's amazing. Like, I feel, you know, I don't know too many women that can just walk around going, I'm super, super confident with absolutely zero makeup on. Most of us can fake it a bit, but a lot of us kind of go, oh my God, I've got redness, I've got pigmentation, I've got lines, I've got wrinkles, I've got this, we pick out every flaw, don't we? Yeah. I think as I've gotten older, whether I care less or whether I just have been using skincare for so long, my skin's probably in a better condition now than what it was when I was in my teens and my 20s. But I think it's a really interesting fact. There's a little, I don't know whether you can see it on the screen in front of you, but on that left-hand side of the screen, it basically says 9 out of 10 women actually want help selecting a foundation product and a foundation shade that actually suits them. So what that tells me is that most women aren't actually happy with their foundation product. And we all wear foundation of some description, whether we want that added protection, whether we want even skin tone, whether it's just to give us that, you know, whether we want to just feel like we're made up, light coverage, full coverage, it doesn't matter. There's a myriad of reasons why we wear foundation, but 9 out of 10 women actually want help picking and selecting a foundation shade, which is where we come in. Okay, so you've got to keep that in mind too. And you know, I know in the past, you know, when we've had previous foundation launches, to do little surveys and stuff with women out there, most women are frustrated to try and even find a foundation shade. And how many times do you walk through a pharmacy or a department store or whatever, and you know, I kind of half giggle these days. If it wasn't inappropriate, I'd be handing out business cards in every pharmacy I walk past. But you know, they're all trying foundation shade on the back of their hand, and you just go, oh, seriously, no wonder they get home and they're going to go, oh no, I hate that colour, because it's not the same as their face. So, you know, how many dollars have they wasted just dripping it down the drain? So as women, you know, so many of us do wear foundations for lots of different reasons. Because we have so many different foundations in our range, for us as consultants, it's often really easy to go, I love CC cream, everyone needs CC cream. Or I just use mineral powder, so everyone's going to get mineral powder. We often just go, like our go-to is what we love. Our easy recommendation is our favourite products. Do you think? I mean, I've done that in the past. I can sort of see different patches with groups of my consultants that these group of consultants are all on CC cream. Well, I can tell that I was working heavily with them when CC cream was launched, or, you know, whatever it was. But, you know what, it's not a one-size-fits-all. But sometimes I think for us as consultants, we can get really overwhelmed by, I don't wear cream to powder, so how on earth would I be able to recommend that to somebody? Like, I don't even know the first thing about it, because we don't naturally all just wear every foundation, do we? So I think what I want to do in this particular slide is really just break down and give you guys an understanding how for you as consultants you would suggest and recommend foundations to different customers based on 3 really simple points, which is the 3 C's, and it's something that I learned like 20 odd years ago, and I still run with it today. The very first thing that I look at for customers is making sure that whatever foundation I'm going to make a recommendation to is that it is actually compatible with their skin, okay? I'm not going to lock, and I should actually just go back one step. It's not about locking people in going, this is the only foundation for you and you can't try any of the others. That's not what I'm saying here, but for us to make a recommendation based on those 3 C's. Ultimately, if she goes, well, I know what you're saying, but I actually want to try that, and I want those 4 shades darker, or I actually want that formula, or I want whatever, ultimately she's the one that's got to wear it. So I'm making a professional recommendation based on this, but she's got that ultimate choice. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's my disclaimer. But the first thing I want to do, the first C, is make sure the product is compatible with her skin type. So there are different foundations that actually work better with different skin types. So whether she's dry, whether she's normal, if her skin's a bit more combination, or whether she's completely oily, there are foundations that work better with those different skin types. Some of it, a little bit of it will depend on whether she's using skincare, and I'll cover that a little bit in a second, but making sure that we recommend based on skin type and compatibility, first up is going to give her a better experience. The aim of the game is that she's ultimately happy, okay? So compatibility is first. Obviously the key to that, if you're trying skincare with her to start with, you're going to have her filling out a profile card. You're going to know whether she's normal to dry, combination to oily, and based on her skincare products, what she's tried in that regard is where you can steer her and eliminate some of the foundation products up front. The next C is what coverage level does she want? Does she want something that's really super sheer, like almost like a tinted moisturiser? And that's, for me, that's actually the verbiage that I use. That's actually how I explain it. Because what I think is sheer, someone else might think is really kind of full coverage. Okay, so sometimes we can use terminology that we know what we mean, but a customer may not, or they might interpret it quite differently. So we've got to also not use too much technical kind of jargon. We really do need to talk as if, you know, it's more layman's terms. So I very much talk whether they want a very sheer coverage, a bit like a tinted moisturiser, you just want something that's a nice light sheer coverage, or do you want a really full coverage that's completely flawless, not completely like, but on the verge of stage makeup, where you've got full coverage, everything's covered, it's just that porcelain, nothing's coming through, you can't see the freckles, you can't see the red spots, you can't see anything, it's flawless. Or do you want kind of somewhere in between? So is it sort of sheer, medium, or full flawless coverage? And then you can obviously determine some foundations from there. So this is almost a process of elimination. So you're not kind of going, I don't even know where to start, let's just try one of everything. That's not what we want to do. So compatibility first, then coverage level. The last thing that we need to determine then is the colour. Okay, and that's usually for foundations from a consultant's perspective. The first thing we get quite stressed about is, oh my God, how am I ever going to pick a colour for somebody? And especially now with this new range when we've got more shades, and now we're talking about undertones, not just ivory, beige and bronze, and all the little weird numbers and all that kind of stuff. So, but colour is actually the last thing that we actually select. And I'll give you a couple of ideas as far as basically, you know, how you can pick those and make it really easy on the run as well. And we'll simplify that. But the 3 C's, compatibility, then coverage, and then colour. Now, if I'm, actually I won't explain that just yet. I will show you this though. This is a foundation comparison chart. Now this is actually on the PowerPoint, and once this is fully recorded and downloaded, all the directors will have it. So you can basically take a screenshot of that, but this conversion chart without the little pink bubbles at the bottom is actually available on the Mary Kay, our InTouch site. So you can actually get that, but if you want the little pink bubbles, which gives you the compatibility and coverage level, then you can take a screenshot off the PowerPoint. But this is really great. This is a handy reference guide for you to have if you're doing a foundation appointment with customers. And I mean, we've always had something similar to this, but it just makes it really, really easy for you to just really have a quick ready reckoner, if you like, to sort of look at and think, well, okay, mineral powder foundation is going to give, like, the finish is quite natural, which really is kind of a natural or a very sheer finish. For someone that wants a really full, flawless finish, they're not going to get that with a mineral powder foundation. Okay, now Endless Performance Cream to Powder Foundation is the other end of the spectrum. So for the woman that wants that really flawless full coverage, cream to powder will definitely give them that. Both of those foundations, as from a compatibility level, if you look in the lookbook, it always usually says that that product is suitable for all skin types, which it is, assuming they are using skincare products. But both mineral powder and cream to powder products have obviously a powder content to them. So my disclaimer on that, and this is how I talk to my customers, if you have got extremely dry skin and you are not prepared to do anything with your extremely dry skin, like cleanse, exfoliate and moisturise, I will not recommend mineral powder or cream to powder foundation for you, because you won't be happy with how it sits on your skin. It won't be compatible with a really dry skin that's not being looked after. Because of the powder in it, it basically will accentuate every line, every wrinkle, every dry patch, and your skin, you'll just look at it going, I just don't like the look. Does that make sense? So even though it says it's suitable for all skin types, which it is, but for really dry people, if they're not looking after their skin, I would never recommend it. we're going to skip the Time-Wise 3D. We're going to go straight to CC cream on the end, which is all in your notes in front of you anyway. Basically, the finish on the CC cream is more of a natural. It's more of a sort of a sheer natural finish. And the compatibility very much is for all skin types. Just from a little bit of experience, I suppose, if they've got an extremely, extremely oily skin, something like the oil mattifier underneath is a really good complementary product, because if for someone with a really oily skin, they might still feel like it's a little bit too hydrating. Some don't, but if they do, you've got other complementary products that can actually combat that. But that's also a really good one for all skin types. Okay, so as far as compatibility is concerned, great for everybody. As far as coverage is concerned, it's really that natural and sheer sort of finish. Time-Wise 3D Foundations is where you get the most versatility, okay, the new foundations. There are two completely different formulas, much like what we've had before. One is very matte and one is really luminous. So basically the two different formulas, compatibility-wise, it's just two spectrums of skin types. Luminous is designed more for that normal to dry skin type, because it's actually, the formula is designed to add more hydration and keep the skin really hydrated for up to 12 hours. The matte formula is designed to be compatible with more of that normal combination and oily skin type, because it's designed to control shine and control oil for that 12 hours. It doesn't add the same level of hydration that luminous does. So someone that's dry wants to look moist and dewy and like they've got moisture in their skin. Someone that's oily wants to look like they've got none of that shiny, oily stuff going on. So that's the end result, that's the look, and that's actually the function of the product as well. Does that make sense? As far as the coverage is concerned, the thing that I really like about the new liquid foundations is that they are still very versatile. So if you've got a woman that really wants a medium, a sheer to medium kind of coverage, you can get that with the liquid foundations, the new Time-Wise 3D Foundations. If they want a little bit more of a flawless foundation, you can still layer it on and get more coverage from the product. So they can end up with a more full coverage if that's what they want by using the same product. Does that make sense? So compatibility, you've got the split between the two formulas, so you can cross every skin type, and then obviously the coverage level is determined a little bit by how much of the product they use, and we're going to cover it in a second. The actual applicators that they use as well will change how it actually sits on the skin and the finish that they'll actually end up with. Okay, so you've got a really broad cross-section of products there. Now for me, and Kat's going to talk a little bit about selling obviously foundation products and working this into your skincare appointments, and we all do it a little bit differently. But for me, if I've got a really small group of ladies, and when I do a foundation appointment, I really coach my hostess, so it's literally just 3 or 4 girls. I don't do foundation appointments with 6, 7 or 8 people. I just don't do them because it's hectic. And I don't want it to be hectic. I want to make sure that they get a really personalised feel and that they get an opportunity to try all those different foundations. So when I've got my group of ladies, I have all of those foundations at my foundation appointments. And they don't necessarily all get to try them all on their face, but they do get to try them all on the back of their hand. So I basically go through all of the foundations, pretty much like I've just gone through with you now, but maybe in a little bit less detail. And then I basically start eliminating while I'm actually talking to them. So I might sort of say, Danny, I know your skin's a little bit oily, and from what we spoke about before, you want more of sort of like a sheer finish. So you might really probably like something like our mineral powder. But the cream powder, as you can see on the back of your hand, it's going to give you a really full finish, so that's not going to give you the coverage level that you want. And luminous is not going to be right for your skin type either, but you can see the difference with the matte, so they're the two that I would consider for you. So you can get to try all of those on the back of your hand, each one as we go through, but I'm already eliminating a couple that she's not even going to consider. And even though I might make a recommendation for CC cream or matte wear or mineral powder, my head might be recommending something that she's actually experiencing a tiny little bit on the back of her hand, not the right colour, we're just looking for the compatibility and the coverage level, how it feels, and she might go, oh, well that's different to what I thought. So actually I wouldn't mind trying that on my face tonight. And then, you know, that's what she'll actually try, and that's when I'll start colour matching her. Does that make sense? And I do that with the 3 or 4 ladies that I've got at my foundation appointment. So they try every single one on the back of their hand. It's not colour match, but it's just You know, so everyone tries a little bit of mineral powder on the back of the hand just with a cotton tip. Everyone tries a little bit of cream to powder as I'm explaining it on the back of the hand, so they can feel how it is on the back of their hand, and they can then see it. Because as I'm explaining it from a, this is going to give you really full coverage, they might go, oh, well, that's actually not, like, that's not as full-on coverage as what I thought. That actually might not be too bad on my face. So they do actually get to have that experience. Does that make sense? That's just how I do it. It's not right or wrong if you do it different, but it just gives them that option, and it actually also helps people get on a broader spectrum. But I also find by doing that, I cross-sell a lot more foundations. So I actually quite often will sell individual customers 2 and 3 different types of foundations because they're all interchangeable as well. So someone might just go, I literally just want CC cream for weekend wear. It's super quick, it's super easy. I don't have to fast. It's great to go do that. But gee, I love that liquid foundation for, you know, daytime. It's fantastic for work. It's going to give me that all day wear. But when I go out on a Saturday night, I want to look really made up. So let's throw in a bit of cream to powder, or we're going to add mineral powder over the top of liquid, and they can start mixing and matching, or get like a little library of foundations for all the different occasions that they like because they've had an experience with all of them. All right? There is another sheet that you can actually use. Is that the hot pick one on the slide? I don't think I printed that one out. That one is actually available. Once it gets on PowerPoint, you can screenshot it, but it's actually available also on our community page on InTouch. And it's just another way of splitting out the compatibility and coverage level. I like the other one personally, but it depends on your client base and how you want to talk it. This one focuses more on the benefits of the foundation. So obviously you can see well, I don't know whether you can actually see the screen, but say the TimeWise 3D, they've got more anti-aging properties. For something like the, what have we got there? Something like the CC cream that's got sunscreen in it. So it actually focuses more on the benefit. The reason that I don't necessarily work with that as my reference guide at an appointment, I don't think I've ever had a customer that's come to me going, right, now the foundation that I'd really like, the main benefit of foundation is anti-aging, thanks. Like, I've never had a customer that said that to me. They really do talk more about the coverage level that they want, and then they're worried about the colour. They don't really focus so much on that stuff. And sunscreen is usually either their focus or it's the bonus. So I don't necessarily look at that benefit. Does that make sense? And none of them are like, oh, I really want my foundation to control my oil. Like, they're not looking at it from a skincare product. So, but if that's the way that you want to work it, you've got that as another sort of alternative in there. Now, if I can get my little go-to girl here, these brushes, they haven't been cleaned from when I use them on Saturday because I just physically haven't had time. But I guess what I just want to quickly run through, and this is actually on your handouts as well, it's on the second page. When we're talking about coverage level, the applicator that they actually use and the brush that they actually use will also affect the coverage that they get from the foundation that they choose, because different applicators will give a different finish. And I basically preface it, and I, prior to Mary Kay, didn't wear a scrap of makeup, so I'm no expert. But I love watching YouTube tutorials and all these makeup experts and, you know, that are whatever. They all have this thought process that you must do, and it's all very dictatorial, that you can only apply foundation with a specific brush and you must do this and you must do that. I've never had that thought process, because when I first started using foundation, I was hopeless. And I was hopeless putting it on with my fingers, and I was really, really hopeless putting it on with a brush. If I wanted to have brush strokes on my face, I was good to go with a brush. But I was just absolutely useless. I could get a better finish by using my fingers than what I could have ever done with a brush, because I was just awkward with it all. And I've still got customers that are like that today. So I kind of want to take away the rule thing with applicators. There's suggestions that can give them really great coverage and results if they're used to using it. But if they're just not comfortable with it, and they're happy with what they're doing, if it's just fingers, and they're happy with the end result, kind of just bless what it is that they're doing. Does that make sense? Don't force this stuff on them if it's just not their thing, but understand the different coverage levels that different applicators will give them. So the liquid foundation brush, the little angly one, I do love this brush, and this was I was quite novel with this to start with. It's not my go-to now though, because I still feel like I think I must just press too hard. I just end up with little track marks in my face. It's not pretty. But basically, if you're using this brush, obviously it's designed to go with our liquid foundation, so the new Timewise 3D or CC cream. But because of the bristles and the way that you actually apply it, you will end up with more of a natural through to a bit of a medium kind of coverage. It's not the applicator to use if you want a really full and flawless finish with your foundation. Does that make sense? The blending brush, however, which is my new best buddy, because I find that's really easy and there's no marks to be left on your face anywhere, and I think that's what I like about it, because it's like applicators for dummies. I love this because I don't know what those bristles are made of, but to me that feels like velvet, and it's literally like brushing like a little velvet thing over your face. And you know what? I've deliberately not even watched any application or YouTube application tips and tricks with that brush, because I just kind of started whacking it on and having a play with it, and I'm looking at it going, oh, I've done pretty good with that. I'm actually okay with that, but I don't know whether my application technique is right or not, but I'm happy with the end result, so I'm running with it. But that applicator obviously is designed once again for liquid foundation, so Timewise 3D or CC cream, but it's going to give the client more of a medium through to that flawless finish, because it does actually work the foundation onto the skin, and the way that it moves around, I'll end up with more of a flawless finish. Does that make sense? The next brush, the powder brush. This one is designed very specifically for our mineral powder foundation, and the way that it works, it actually traps the powder in the brush so they don't just get a clump of powder smack on their face. So that is the one. Mineral powder is really the one and only foundation that we have that I really am insistent that they do need the applicator with it. But that brush with powder, whether it's mineral powder or translucent powder, will actually help them have that very natural and sheer finish, which is what mineral powder will give them ultimately anyway. So it actually supports that. The one that's not actually on your picture and on your screen is the overall powder brush that's going to give them that really light sort of dusting over. That's not designed to give full coverage either. You can actually use that one plus the powder brush. I know you use that a bit with liquid foundations to sort of do a bit of juicy and a bit of touchy-uppy stuff, which is a technical term, juicy. But once again, that's actually going to give that very light sort of airbrushed kind of look as well. But the lucky last one, which I have to admit these days I do swing a little bit between blending brush first and then I finish off with this, I call it the blob, because what's it called? The blending sponge. I always forget what it's called. It's just the blob. It's like the baby blob that just grows. Anyway, my customers know what I mean. But this is really, really great to give more of a flawless finish. It actually, like, to press it into the skin and the way that you can apply your foundation with it, it will give more of a flawless finish, okay? And I really love it for that second application of a liquid foundation. Does that make sense? So if you want a full coverage and you want to really get that almost very airbrushed look, this is a really great applicator to give that really finished look to your foundation. So it's not just the product, it's also the applicator that can actually cater for that second C and the coverage level. Thank you. Like Delvine Delaney. You guys are all too young to know who she is, but anyway. Alrighty, so we're all kind of clear on compatibility, understanding that different compatibility levels, and also then looking at the different coverage levels. So now what we're going to do is what we all think is probably the trickiest thing in the world, but it really isn't. Looking at the different colours within the new Timewise 3D Foundations. And the basic rule of thumb is just narrow it down and keep it really, really simple. If we look at Timewise 3D in a second, but when we look at mineral powder, when we look at CC cream, when we look at cream to powder foundation, literally just narrow it down. Forget colour and, oh my God, how am I going to colour match you and whatever. Just what are the products that you can eliminate straight away? Does she need bronze? No. So get rid of it. Is she really pale? So is she going to be more ivory? She's sort of somewhere in between, so she's going to be a beige. So just eliminate whichever ones that you need to eliminate. If she's not super, super pale, she's not going to need the really light ivory ones. And if she's not super, super dark, there's nowhere near she's going to need bronze. So you've narrowed it down to sort of half already. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then it literally is just a stripe test where you can pick 2 or 3, and it literally is, and do it with a cotton tip, just pick 2 or 3 shades, and it's just a stripe down her jawline. And the general rule of thumb is if you just really gently blend it with your finger, and it's not like rub, 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 oh my God, I've got to get that rubbed in. It's a gentle blend, and whichever one blends into her skin and is not left like super obvious from like arm's length distance is going to be the one that's going to match her entire face and not leave her with the makeup line. Now, the biggest trick with it is if you go, yeah, well, that all sounds fine, but I still got no idea. Like, and trust me, I know some of you think that because I've been there where I'm just going, oh, seriously, I have no clue. Get her to pick up her mirror out of her tray, hold her at arm's length, and get her to have a look and decide which one she likes the best. If she's completely clueless as well, and she's got girlfriends there, which is another key point as to why she needs to have friends there, so they can tell them, you know, girlfriends are more honest, right, than what we will be. They're probably brutal. Get her girlfriends on the other side of the table to tell her which one's actually going to look better, which one is the least obvious. Because if it's really obvious, it's going to be really obvious over a whole face. How many times have you been out on a Friday or Saturday night, and my girlfriends laugh at me all the time because I just kind of like eye roll and cringe when these girls look like they've just shoved their head in a bucket of orange goo. And it's just like, really? It's like I want to like blend them at Salamanca on a Friday night because it's just like, where are your friends? It looks terrible. So it's a process of elimination. Get rid of the shades that you know you don't even have to consider straight up, and then go to 3, and then it's just that stripe test. Does that make sense? So with the other products, mineral powder, CC cream, and also cream to powder, it's easy because there's less shades to pick from. But when we come to our Time-Wise 3D, I spoke to this with our Northern girls on Saturday, and we had a workshop and then we had a bunch of guests, so it was really good because they actually could put it into practice after we'd done the workshop, and then we had a bunch of guests that came, so there was a bit of practice in it. So really what we did for the girls, the ladies that are already using our existing Time-Wise foundations, the luminous and the matte wear from our existing range, the conversion chart, which is once again, it's available on your InTouch page, and I think pretty much all of us would have had it on our unit Facebook pages. This is going to be your best friend, I will admit. The conversion to these in most cases are really good. Okay, they're pretty much identical. So that would be your starting point. So if she was using, say, matte wear Ivory 6, it would recommend Ivory N140. And I'm not saying that that's got to be exact for her, but that would be your starting point to do that stripe test. And if then you could kind of go, oh no, it's actually not quite right, it looks a bit light, you can then adjust it accordingly. Okay, so for existing customers, the conversion chart makes it really easy. But it's a guide, it's not a hard and fast rule. Most of my customers have converted across exact, okay? I know Kat's had a really similar experience. Most of her ladies have converted across pretty much exact. For me personally, I'm nowhere near exact to what this says. The one that I'm using basically says the conversion would have been a beige 6 in the old formula, and there's no way in the world I would have ever used beige 6, whereas what I'm using, I'm really happy with. So I was either completely using the wrong colour before, or it's just matched better because of the undertone, which is different. Okay, so it's a guide, it's not a hard and fast rule. Existing customers, it's your starting point, and then you can adjust accordingly. But new customers, I'll go through with you what I would recommend. And once again, we're all going to do it a little bit differently, but I'm a bit like foundation for dummies, and I know Kat's probably going to cringe, and I know Danny, we've already spoken tonight, and I know she's doing it a little bit differently already. But colour's never been my thing, but I want to make it so ridiculously simple for myself. I'm really across ivory, beige and bronze. So instantly, if I've got a brand new customer and I'm looking at, I'm going to use you, Kate, as an example, I can look at Kate automatically going, I can eliminate bronze because no way, no how is she going to be at any of the bronze shades in the new Time-Wise 3D, correct? I don't even have to consider bronze and worry about numbers and the undertones and any of that stuff, right? She's not ivory either, is she? She's not on the super pale end, so I can not even worry about the ivories to start with. So what I'm going to do is really probably just go, she's going to be in the beigey kind of tones, perhaps. I might need to swing it a switch, but I'm going to start in beige because she's not super fair and she certainly doesn't need bronze. All right, so instantly I've got rid of 2/3 of them. I'm literally just going to start looking at the beige ones, the beige foundations. So the next step to it is looking at what undertone does she have to her skin. Is she cool, is she neutral, or is she warm? Some of you are completely across the cool, neutral and warm thing, and some of you have, no, freaking I do. And that's totally okay. And you know what? There's so many ways that you can determine it. On your handout sheet, obviously on the PowerPoint, there are 5 or 6 different questions that you can ask customers to help determine their undertone. But for me personally, remember, I'm Foundation for Dummies. I don't want to confuse it for me. I don't want to have to try and remember 6 different questions, but I also don't want to sit there with my customers and fire 6 different questions about trying to figure out their undertone. So I want to make it really, really simple. On your notes and also on the screen, it does talk about some of the questions. Some people know kind of colours that they naturally steer towards. Do they wear warm coloured clothing, or do they go to the cools, or are they just very much a neutral? Jewellery, like are they silver, are they, you know, they yellow, gold, or they can just kind of wear both. They can help determine undertone. I guess my problem with jewellery is that, do they wear yellow gold because that's the ring that their husband gave them and they would have probably preferred white gold, and are they wearing yellow gold and it doesn't actually necessarily suit them, or vice versa? Do you know what I mean? Like, some people were like, oh, I would have preferred white gold, but I got yellow, or vice versa, when then that's the jewellery that they have. So I guess the 2 questions that I really like to start with, one is the tanning question, just to really quickly help determine like your undertone. Tell me, not that we want to go out in the sun and sunbathe, because we all want to be careful with SPF and blah, 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 but if you were out in the sun, how well do you tan? Do you just go red and then back? Like, do you just go, like, do you burn and then just go back to, like, not tanning at all and burn and go back and burn and go back to your natural sort of skin tone? Because if that's the case, they're probably more of a cool. If they go out and just get tanned, lucky you, don't have to worry about any of that other burning kind of rubbish, they just get a really beautiful tan, then they're probably going to be more in the warmer tones. But if they burn and can gradually tan, they probably can steer around the neutral sort of shades. For me, that's one of the easiest things, because most women have a bit of an idea what happens to our skin when we go out in the sun. Do you just get red and you never tan no matter how hard you try? Or do you gradually tan, or do you just tan? I don't even want to know what you're doing. That can help determine the cool, neutral and warm. Does that make sense? The backup question for me with that is looking at what their veins are doing. Okay, not that we want to turn into vampires or do any of that crazy crap, but have a look at what their veins are doing. Are they that green undertone? Are they the purpley blue undertone? Or are they kind of a bit of both? Because that will also, that's what, for me, that's the next backup question to sort of almost solidify the cool, neutral and warm. And you've got all that on your sheets. Does that make sense? So once again, if I'm working with Kate, we've nutted it down. We're going to start with beige foundations. If we've decided to use the new Time-Wise 3D, we're going to start with beige. So if I said to you, Kate, so how does your skin work when you're out in the sun? Do you tan really easily, or do you just burn and don't kind of tan at all? Or can you kind of tan a bit do you burn and sort of tan gradually?
Bit of both. Like, I can burn in sunspots and then I'll tan straight away,
yep.
Or I can just go straight to tan. So a bit of both.
Yeah. So basically in my brain, she's a bit of a beige, but she could be warm or neutral. She's definitely not a cool, because she can get a tan, correct? So what do I do now? I come to this little chart, or you can do it out of your lookbook or whatever. I'm only going to look at the beige foundations, and I'm going to start with anything that's actually got a W in front of it or an N. And then literally I haven't got my glasses on, but 1, 2, 3, I'm down to 5 foundations already out of the however many gazillion that we've got. I'm suddenly down to 5. I'm going to grab those 5 and I'm going to start with 3 and do the little stripe test. That's one of the easiest ways for you guys to actually work with the new foundations. Does that make sense? It's not a hard and fast rule. Now, if she was so clearly like 100% absolutely, I just tan, I'm awesome, I'm a rock god, I just go out and I just get tanned. I'm not even going to look at the neutrals, I'm just going to look at the warms. So I'm going to get all the beige ones that just have a W in them, and then we'll start doing the stripe test from there, and then basically work it out, and that basically eliminates it down to 3. So I've got a stripe test of 3. Which one do you like? If I can't figure it out. But the other side of that is, just because I think something colour matches with her skin, and she's going to get that natural look all over, she might go, but I want it 4 shades darker. And I've had customers that have done that. They literally want to be 68 shades darker than what they are naturally. Or the other way around, they want the really, like, I've been living in the dark for 14 years. They've got a nice beigey, bronzy kind of tone, but they want to be pale white. So it doesn't matter what I colour match them to, they just want the lightest of light kind of foundations. But once again, we're offering them a recommendation based on what is compatible, the coverage level, and then the colour that suits them the most. And ultimately, it is up to them what they decide. So that's where you do that stripe test, let them have a look at it and let them make that final decision, and particularly if you can't decide. Does that make sense? Is that a little bit easier for you rather than, because I think, I mean, even I looked at it going, holy heck, the numbers and the letters and the whole thing. Just do a process of elimination and get rid of the ivory, the beiges or the bronzes, whichever categories they don't fall into. Then ask those questions about undertone, whether they are the cool, the neutral or the warms, and then start doing that stripe test to get that determination. And, you know, we had one lady on Saturday where she wasn't 100% clear whether she kind of tanned or didn't really tan, and she really could have swung between the warms and the neutrals and all that kind of stuff. So she really did try sort of 3 or 4 different sort of foundations. And then literally it was, in the end, the one that she actually really liked was a cool undertone, which personally I didn't really think suited her completely, but she really liked it. She walked away happy. Hallelujah. Do you know what I mean? So it's still, you've got a starting point. And these are obviously all listed lightest through darkest. So in the beiges, these are listed in lightest through darkest. Okay. That's just the second page, all the helpful hints of selecting the right foundation shade, the 3 stripe test. Obviously just some more tips when you're selecting that foundation shade. A room like this is not the perfect room to be selecting a foundation shade. You've got yellow, beigey kind of tones on the walls, which are going to throw a yellow on your skin. Okay? Selecting a foundation shade is always going to be far more accurate in natural light. I love, one of my easiest things to talk to my customers about is, why don't we just get the girls together and I can come to your place and we can have a look at the foundations in your bathroom where you normally do foundation in the morning, then you get an idea of what you like and what you don't like, where you normally do your foundation every day. Because usually bathrooms are light and bright and they've got that natural light to them. But, you know, if they've got really strong or bold, like reds and yellows and all those kind of things on the walls, they're going to throw a different tone on the skin. If they're wearing like a really bold colour, like a bright yellow, orange, green, whatever, it can throw a different shade to their face. So natural light is always better to actually select a foundation. When it comes to the TimeWise 3D, they do actually have an IntelliMatch technology in them. So basically when you first put it on, you go, oh my God, that woman has gone completely mad. That is so wrong for my face. That is just going to look ridiculous. And I had one client that actually said that to me, bless little cotton socks on Saturday. She's just like, you know, that's just not going to work. I'm like, give it a minute. Just give it a minute. Let it just dry. Let's just wait for just a minute. And she's going, oh, that's perfect. Oh, you know what you're doing. Thank you. Good. You need to wait a minute or two to let it dry so it just blends with the skin a little bit better, and when you first put it on, it doesn't look right, but then it does actually start to blend with the skin with that IntelliMatch technology thing, so it needs to dry a little bit. It is always recommended that if you kind of can't decide between 2 different shades, if you can kind of flux between 2, go the one that's slightly darker, because then they're not going to look ghosty and pale and pasty. Just go that little bit darker. And this is, I think most of you would know this already, but it's a bit of a no-brainer. Skin tone changes between summer and winter. Okay, most customers, particularly with something like the liquid foundations, when there's so many variants between all the different shades, most customers need to be re-colour matched between summer and winter. I would say 98% of my liquid foundation customers, cream to powder as well particularly, they have a summer colour and they have a winter colour. So it's like we have the months where they start to transition and they go into the darker shades now, then come sort of like April, May, June next year, they go back to their lighter shades for winter. whether they're adding the sun or not, because they're adding tan and they're doing all those kind of things. So it just changes. So that's a natural, and that's obviously it's a connection point with your customers. Okay, the rest of that's probably fairly self-explanatory. The next product that I want to really quickly cover with you is the Honey Glow. I keep wanting to call it Honey Dew finisher, but that's a fruit, isn't it? It's not quite the same thing. Honey Glow finisher. What we had a consultant, and she's actually still a consultant in our unit. Remember when we had a product called the it was like the targeted action line reducer. Well, she used to call it a targeted action line enhancer. She used to sell bucket loads of them, so you don't actually have to get the name right to actually sell the product. No, it was a line enhancer, but you know that was Jane Howard. I still joke about it with her now. It was just hysterical. But she finally twigged about 8 months down the track, going, "Oh, it's not a line enhancer, it's a line reducer." But she sold lots. Doesn't really matter what you call it. But this is called a Honey Glow finisher. It has just been released, and this is like a really hot on-trend product. It is really great as an underneath product with foundations, and pretty much any skin type can use it. If they've got a really, really exceptionally oily skin, I would probably start with, say, an oil mattifier underneath to give them that extra oil absorption, and then obviously using a matte wear liquid over the top of it's going to give them that little bit more shine, a little bit more oil control. But the Honey Glow finisher is designed pretty much for all skin types. It's designed to give women a really radiant, youthful skin. That glow. Does that make sense? Healthy glow. It's got light reflecting properties to it. It's long lasting, it's all those kind of things. It's very fluid and honey-like. I actually find it quite thick, but it is quite fluid as well. So it does glide on really, really easy as a very easy application. And you basically pop it over your whole face. Or I've got some customers that just want it in certain areas of their face. So it's that real radiant glow with a few other different skincare benefits. It can whiten and brighten the skin, and some of the effects are things like wrinkle improvement, so your wrinkles don't look as bad as what they were before. And basically, it's that in-between step after you finish skincare before you use foundation. So it goes on after you put moisturiser on, before foundation. And fingertips or like the liquid foundation brush would be great with it. All right? So actually, one thing that I want to cover with that, it does have SPF in it. It's SPF 35 in the Asian market. So it's actually made in Korea, I believe, isn't it? So it's actually a Korean-made product, and to Korean and the Asia-Pacific market, it's made to their standard of SPF 35. Because of our TGA laws in Australia, we can't promote and market it as an SPF product because it doesn't meet the Australian standards, which is different basically to the rest of the world. But I personally think we do need to still tell our clients, and we need to be aware that it has SPF in it in case women have a sensitivity to SPF products, but they need to understand that we're not promoting it as a sunscreen product. The reality is they're still going to get sun protection. It just doesn't meet the Australian TGA standards for us to basically market it as an SPF product. But from a sensitive issue perspective, so we cross that bridge and kind of, I can't use SPF, SPF always reacts with my skin, we wouldn't recommend that product. Does that make sense? And it is actually over, like they've got little overlay stickers to actually cover it up on the actual product, as well as the boxes to cover up the SPF 35. But if you're presenting it and you're working with it, you really do need to let women know that technically it does have SPF in it. We just can't market it in that way, but if you're sensitive, then it's a product to avoid. All right? Now, go back one slide. The next one that I want to really quickly show you is effectively the difference between primer and the Honey Glow finisher, because they're similar. Did I go one screen too many? Yeah. I probably have, and now I can't go back because it's recording. But the difference between primer and Honey Glow finisher, there are some real basic sort of similarities. They are both a really good prep product for foundation, to give that prep under the foundation products. They extend and improve the wear of foundation and makeup that you're actually wearing, and it does help create more of a flawless look. So both foundation primer and Honey Glow finisher will do that. Primer, is as a standalone product. It is great for women that want the traditional primer product. It won't give that radiant glow and that glossy, dewy look that the Honey Glow finisher will give. But the primer, we've all seen those pictures that have gone around. I think we've all seen them on social media where you've got the picture of the two oranges where one's got primer on it and like all of the actual little, you know, pits and pores and stuff looking on the surface of the orange are completely smooth, and the other one's still got all the little dimples and stuff on the orange on it. That's what primer will do. It will actually smooth out all those imperfections on the skin and fill up all of those spots, but Honey Glow Finisher doesn't have the same effect. Does that make sense? And Honey Glow Finisher obviously has that more of a radiant kind of glow than what primer does. So they're really some real key differences. For someone that doesn't want that moist, dewy, radiant kind of glow look and they just want that really smooth and I'll need my foundation to sit and stay, you'd go for a foundation primer. But if they want that new, everything's dewy, everything's healthy, that radiant kind of glow, Honey Glow Finisher is the way. Okay? So, some reasons to be excited about TW3D, apart from the fact that they're really, really awesome, and I think your customers are going to love them. It's got that IntelliMatch technology, so you can really find a true shade. We have more shades that have been added to the range. So, you know, I know for me, I'm really excited the fact that some of my customers aren't going to have to mix and match 2 or 3 different ones to come up with their right sort of colour. So you've got more shades so we can actually accurately match people and it's more sort of seamless for them. And obviously the matte wear is going to give that 12-hour of oil control, luminous wear is 12 hours of moisturisation. They are both humidity and sweat resistant formulas. So you stick it on and go and work out at the gym, you're still going to look all right by the end of it. All right? You should. And I think one of the biggest benefits is that it actually is going to add anti-aging and skincare benefits in a foundation product. So all of the things that we love about our TW3D skincare, that complex that's in the TW3D skincare is actually in this foundation. So they've got an anti-aging benefit in foundation products. All right? So that's just a bonus because, you know, from a selling point, nobody wants to look older than they are, do they? All right, 16 shades in matte wear, 12 shades in luminous. So you've got a lot of shades to actually work with if that's the formula that they actually want. And it's like anything, when we've got a new product, it's an opportunity to connect with women. The first people that you need to be going to are your existing liquid foundation customers. The next lot of people you need to be going to are all of your other foundation customers, letting them know that they have another option that they can try. And then you want to just connect with everybody else and let them know that there's a new product and you know there's an opportunity to try it. Okay, because it might be the right time for them, even though they may not have used a Mary Kay foundation previously. So there's a lot of reasons. For me, a new product launch is a reason to connect, particularly with those that you know are excited. This is an interesting slide looking at TW3D Foundations, particularly and what the target customers are. There's a lot of different information on there, but I am personally a big believer in not pigeonholing people into specific products. It's the same with, I don't know where it's gone now. It's the same with the skincare products in the back there. Like, they can make a recommendation, like for something like Botanical Effects, it's for women that want that really easy beauty, TW3D, early signs of aging, Time-Wise Repair for advanced signs of aging, that kind of stuff. But don't lock people into that as you can only use it Time-Wise Repair if you've got really advanced signs of aging. I've got women in their early 20s that are using some of the Time-Wise Repair products because they just really like them. And they don't necessarily have advanced signs of aging. They just really like the feel of them. And they're happy with that. So when you look at target customers, it's really anybody that wants the coverage level that it's going to give and it's compatible with their skin type and they like using a liquid foundation. It doesn't matter whether they're a teenager or if they're 98 years old. So don't kind of lock people into this is the target, that's all I need to talk to. Because then you forget a whole bunch of other people that really could enjoy it too. I've got women in their, I think my oldest customer's like very early 80s that is using some of our existing botanical range and she loves it. And like I said, I've got girls in their 20s that are using the Time-Wise repair range, and they love that. So and I think I use pretty much something out of all of them. So it's kind of like, it's not you're in that age bracket, so this is the target for you. But it does give you an idea of, who you can look at. You've obviously got your conversion charts there. That's just a slightly different version that's on your screen. There's a few different ones that are floating around, but personally, I've got these little just inserted folders. I bought them years ago. I think I got them from Officeworks, something like that. But when you've got things that are changeable, like, when I don't need to use this conversion chart anymore because no one's actually using the old Time-Wise foundations, I can just stick something else in these little sleeves. But these are really handy for you to put this stuff in now and take to your foundation appointments. Leave it in front of you when you're on the phone messaging your customers. So if they go, well, what shade would I be? Well, you're going to be N160. So it's like it's an instant kind of, like you've got it in front of you. You don't have to stop and think about it or try and grab stuff out or have a guess or that kind of stuff. It's right there and it's in front of you. So the conversion chart is one of the best things that you can have. And that other conversion chart with all the different foundations on it and the other one with the brushes, once again, I've still got those in those sleeves, and the one with the brushes, I still think that's a really great one to take to your appointments, wherever that one ended up. They're really great to take to your appointments to have as like those reference guides. The next slide on there is some of the additional foundation or face type products that we've got, that just because we've got a new product launch, I don't want you to sort of suddenly forget about all the other products that are very complementary to all of our foundation products. So you've got our 6 shades of our Perfecting Concealer, which are really great to use underneath or over the top of every single foundation that we've got. I personally think every single woman that is alive needs the under eye corrector, because I think that is a girl's best friend. I had 3 or 4 ladies on Saturday that were like, oh, I feel like I need a bit more coverage. And the minute that we put under eye corrector on, they're like, I'm done, I'm happy. Because they just got that little bit of discoloration under their eye, gone. And then they didn't need more foundation over their whole face, they just needed to get rid of those dark circles under their eyes. Under eye corrector is just a girl's best friend. You obviously have other complementary products like the sheer pressed powder, which are really great as like a touch-up product. You've got your translucent powder, which is great for those that want that powder over the top. And of course we have our makeup finishing spray, which once again is compatible with all of our foundations. So they're add-on products. Before I hand over to Kat, and look at that, I'm on time. I need a round of applause. Almost. I've got 5 really quick tips to, yes, I'll just applaud myself. It's like I'm having a little sing-along in the car. It's like I'm always just waiting for like the audience to jump up and applaud me. Never happens, I can never understand it. But 5 really quick tips when we're working with new foundations, or really kind of almost any new product that we launch, but we're talking about foundations tonight that are going to really support you to build your business. Be excited about them, okay? And be genuinely excited about them, because they are great products. Whether it is the product that you're personally using or not is actually irrelevant, but be excited about them, because you have to remember your customer's instant response is going to be, oh my God, why do they have to change it? I really liked what I was using. Like, they're going to be anxious. They're going to be really cautious. They're going to be so apprehensive about change. Because remember what I said from the start, women are ridiculously loyal to skincare and foundation products. And they don't want those products to change. So if we're letting them know that their foundation is changing, they're going to have a little freak out moment. So you've got to be genuinely excited, because then that's going to allay some of that caution from them, and just let them know that we've got more choice and that you work with them to get their perfect match, and all those kind of things. So if you're genuinely excited, that will actually help them overcome that fear. Second point, a new launch is always just a really great excuse to connect with people. Start your text messages off, start your phone calls off with just a quick courtesy call. We've got a brand new product launch and I automatically thought of you because we should get together. I'd love for you to try it, particularly because it's a foundation product. It would be great if we can do it at your place or mine, or we can try it in the bathroom where we've got great light. Let's get the girls together. Like, it's a reason, it's an excuse to connect, and it's an excuse to catch up. Number 3, utilise the education materials that are available to you. You don't have to create anything. You've got everything that you need at your fingertips. You've got the flyers on the foundations, you've got the conversion charts, you've got all those compatibility charts with all the different foundations. All of those things are available to you. And you also have on the InTouch site, these are only for you, okay? These are not fact sheets that you start handing out to customers, because I think this is too much information. But you have fact sheets that are available to you if you kind of go, I need a bit more information, I need the ins and outs and I need the info on these things. You've actually got some product fact sheets on both Luminous and Mattware, and basically you've got you've actually got these fact sheets that give you like power statements. It gives you all of the detail, how to match the formula, all the different attributes with the different foundations if you want more information. Be careful with that though. If you need it to make yourself more feel comfortable, that's great, but don't feel that you've got to get to your appointments and stand there and sprout off 48 lines of foundation information to your customers, because they'll be just like, snooze fest, I just wanted to try that stuff on my face. I like it or I don't. They don't necessarily need the guts of the detail, but if you need it for confidence and to be really comfortable to talk about it, go for it, because you've got all that stuff at your fingertips. Point number 4, always suggest, and it doesn't matter, it's not just foundations, it's everything, but always make a suggestion and a recommendation of product sets. Because single products are great, but they will get a far better result when they work with a set of products. Foundations for me really start with concealer, under eye corrector, 1 if not 2 foundations, probably a powder product like translucent or mineral powder over the top to give them that added coverage or that finish if that's what they like, and makeup finishing spray are really great. That makes a really great foundation set, and then they can pull it apart from there. But remember, point number 4, all of the foundation products are designed so that they can work singularly. Remember, girls can use them for different occasions. They want the super cash weekend look, or they want a little bit more for a workday look, or they want the really flawless look for going out. They can have 3 or 4 different foundations, but all of our foundations are designed to work together. So CC goes great underneath one of the liquid foundations or with mineral powder over the top. You can put CC underneath one of the liquid foundations. Did I just say that? They're all liquid with mineral, like they're all designed so they can mix and match together, and make sure that you've got that sort of compatibility, but also the versatility, and the customers actually know that, because sometimes they just want something a bit different and they need to know that you can provide that with Mary Kay, which is why I get them to try all of them at their appointment, so they can, they know, and you can talk it in language that they understand. If you want that look where you're going out in a slinky little black dress, this is the foundation you need to try. So it's that kind of conversation. Does that make sense? Excellent. So now I'm going to hand over to the infamous Kat McNeil, who is a master at not just building her business, but working her business in every scenario. And she's going to take you through, basically it's not just 5 different options, but it's 5 different ways to sell. And obviously we're talking about foundations, but I want you to think the broader selection of products that we actually have, and utilising 5 different ways that you can sell and incorporate it into your business and work with customers in different ways.
Alrighty, so we did last month, yes, we focused on the 5 different ways to sell the product. That was last month, wasn't it? Or is the time going a bit quicker? So on the line, on paper, on the go, on with the show, and on the face. So online being very much that customer service focus, and foundation. I don't know about you guys, but my month has started on the other end of my phone, and I haven't stopped yet, because the foundation launch is such a big launch, that it's really important. One, that as a director, I always say to my girls that they're my main focus when the new product launch comes out. Are your consultants up to speed with it? Have they got the correct colour match for themselves? So that's mine always when there's a new product launch. That's my primary focus, is to make sure that my girls are right with what they're doing. So we've done that, and I'm getting around the rest of my unit as time passes, and some will be a little bit delayed on that, but some will be really quick as well. So the first group of people that I talk to, not necessarily in the month of the product launch, but when I'm aware that we're going to have a product launch, is my consultants. When am I going to see you? In October, when I've got these products, when are we catching up? And that's very much whether it's been a conversation that we've had face to face, whether it's been on the phone when we've been chatting, whether it's been that they've been at the previous event, or what it is. Like, those conversations have happened, and those are the first group of bookings that happen in my world. Obviously, for you guys that have got team members, that on-flows to you as well. So I can't physically get around our whole unit, so it's our sharers' responsibility to make sure that their girls are either showing up where they can be colour matched, or that they're capable of doing that themselves. Because physically there's only so many people I can see. Okay, when you show up in a group environment, we can touch on more people, but to get round 50 or 100 people individually, I would be exhausted. Okay, so as your sharer, that then becomes part of your responsibility to make sure your people are sorted out as well. Okay, and then from there, my customer service and the online stuff now is very much in my customer mode, and I've spent 3 or 4 hours after we chatted on the phone this afternoon, and that, like, working with my customers in that regard. Also getting Christmas open home invites and that sort of stuff out there, but the two conversations just at the minute are hand in hand. Can you make Christmas open home? Can we rematch you there while we're looking at a couple of other bits and bobs that you said you're interested in the year, throughout the year, but we've missed each other for whatever reason, that's by the by now. If they can be there, that's great, we get to do that face to face there. If they can't be, when can I see them? Can I catch up for a coffee? Can we do a group appointment? Like, and it's all about, in my Mary Kay world, it's meeting them where they're at, but the picking up the phone, or it might be a message, reality is if they're really busy and they're at work, when you're like me, I do my phone calls during the day, and most of my clients, I'm aware a lot of them are at work, but they know, because they're very well versed in, if I call you and you can't answer, please just hang up on me. Okay, I will flick you a text message because I know that you're going to be at work. Okay, if it's lunch break, yay. If it is not, I will not be offended. Okay, so we have that conversation a lot in my Mary Kay world. Okay, I'm busy. They're busy. We're all busy people, so there's a respect ground in the middle there. So that conversation happens, and they're coming to open home. I'm meeting with them for coffee, sometimes in their lunch break, or I'm doing a group appointment with them, with their girlfriends, which hopefully involves a whole bunch of other clients that I can touch base with at the same time, to rematch foundation look. So, and we're part way through the month, yeah, well, I'm not even sure what the date is today, but I've got a big month of just doing that activity this month, and it all starts with picking up the phone or communicating out in some form to my people to see how I can work with them the best. Okay, for some people it won't be that they can see me at all. For some people it will very much be, I trust you, Kat, what's the conversion? Okay, and some of them have been around 17 years in Mary Kay, some of them have been around to know that there's a conversion, and that's literally what they tell me. What's the conversion? I trust you, you just do what you think. And then there will be a couple of questions attached to that. You know, do you find that you burn really easily? Sometimes I know that already, but there's a couple of questions that I can ask around that if I need a little bit of a guide to what they may or may not be on that spectrum, and I want to narrow down, because I don't want to send every single person that I've got on my client base 10 different samples. Okay, I want to narrow it down to 2 or 3 different samples that I'm going to send to each individual person. If not, it's just one. Okay, so that all, my main thing when I'm reaching out to people, all of that starts from picking up the phone to them, yeah? So all of the other avenues that we've got slipped in and around the foundation launch that we've got going on at the moment start when you communicate out via the phone or inbox or email or whatever other customer service methods you have depending on the platform that you've got access to at the minute. Alrighty. Some of those people that I'm missing, they will want on the paper service, they will want to see a physical lookbook, or they will want me to send the lookbook link through to them so they can see the updated version of that. Okay. When they say I want to see the lookbook or I want to see the new catalogue now, I don't always necessarily assume that they actually want a physical one in the mail. I'm like, do you want me to post you one, or would you like the link for the virtual version of that? 9 times out of 10 they actually want the link so they can flick through it, which is fantastic my end, because it saves the cost of a lookbook, not that it's huge, and the cost of a postage. But with a client base of 400 people, if I was to send 400 lookbooks, because I assume that they're all wanting a physical copy of it, that's like 400 in stamps alone, right? And it's $1 per lookbook, is that right? $1 per lookbook. So like that blows out. If every single person says yes to that question, that blows out. But if I delve a little bit deeper, then 9 times out of 10 they actually just want the virtual one, which is fantastic, and they'll have a flick through, and then the follow-up happens the same as what it would if you were sending a physical version of that. Okay. We used to talk back in the day, we were taught to never send out a lookbook without a sample attached to it, and we would call them loaded lookbooks. Okay. Now they were a little bit flatter than what they are with the sample pots now, because we had little sachet samples, so you could put quite a bit of product in a lookbook and just sticky tape it on. Now you could probably fit, realistically, you could fit 3, 4, 5 sample pots and like position them in different places of the lookbook and still have it fit in an envelope, so you're paying minimal postage. Okay, because I always put my Scrooge McDuck hat on. I just want it 1 sample pot thick, because any thicker I have to pay more postage, and that adds up. Yeah, if I'm paying $4.25 to post a lookbook with samples in it, that's not necessarily wise if I do that with 20 people. And I absolutely, if I'm going past somebody's house on a Friday and it's a Monday, then I'll wait till the Friday and drop it off in their mailbox, depending on where I'm at. Okay, I won't drive from Dromadera to Huonville to do the same. That definitely goes in the post, but if I'm going down there, I will connect with all of my people down in that area, and hey, I'm popping past, how about I pop this on your doorstep, or I do this, or I do that, because we've got little pockets in our secret drop-off slots around the place. So it depends on the area I'm working in, what I'll do and how I'll structure my service sometimes. So on the paper, loaded lookbook. If you're going to go to the effort to send a lookbook in the mail, make sure it's got a sample of some description that you can have a little bit of fun with your person and follow up with. Okay, because that gives you a reason to do the follow-up. And it might just be a case of, hey Kate, how did you go with that new Honey Glow finisher sample in there? How did you go with that? Was that okay on your skin type? I know you get a little bit oily sometimes. How did you find it?
Loved it.
Yeah. Okay. So my customer service can be geared in that way. Or it might be, Danny, you've got a really dry skin type, which Danny does not. You've got a really dry skin type. How did that feel on your skin in comparison to the primer? Did it feel a little bit more hydrating throughout the day? Yes. Okay, so I can have those conversations with them, either voice to voice or via messages, in follow-up to that. Okay, and she might not necessarily want to order that time around. Mind you, I'm getting a pretty heavy strike rate with Honey Glow finisher in that relation, but she might actually be needing other product. So I can touch base with her at the same time and ask her, how's the rest of your bits and bobs going just at the minute? What's low? How's your foundation? How's your moisturiser? How's your skincare? How's your skin feeling on the change of season? Okay, so it's not necessarily the reason behind the initial contact, but all of that can feed through from there. Okay, and then I'm not overwhelming them too much straight up with a lot of questions all at once, because sometimes with something as exciting as what's going on just at the minute, it's really easy to overwhelm them, and when you overwhelm them, they won't buy. Okay, so if you're finding that you're so excited because there's so much going on, but you're blotting out all of this info, and you can't understand why your people aren't excited as what you are because they're not buying back from you, then it's possibly too much information and too many steps all at one time, and you haven't guided them through the process slowly. Okay, because as women, if it's too hard, we don't do it. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. So that's on paper, and on paper definitely requires the follow-up from that. The other on-paper thing that you can be doing just at the minute is, Carissa touched on foundation surveys. Kate, you've done foundation surveys in the past, is that right?
Foundation surveys.
Did you not give a free mascara for foundation surveys quite a little while ago?
Sorry, not that I'm
No,
not sure.
I remember handing out surveys with a consultant, and they were foundation based. So we would get the consultant would ask one of their clients to take 10 surveys and have their people fill in, complete them, bring them back, just as a generic, you know, are you happy with your foundation? Do you like the coverage? Do you like this scenario? And once those were returned to her, she got a gift voucher or a mascara or something as a gift, as a thank you gift. And then from that came the follow-up and detail and stuff that needed to happen from that. So there was contact details and names and phone numbers, and then there was sales as a result of that process, and a couple of bookings in there as well. So that's very much an on-paper thing that you can do there as well. On the go, I touched on this. I did a Facebook Live Monday about on the go, and seriously, at the minute, you're on the go, you definitely should be taking Honey Glow Finisher around everywhere with you, and that's in part of that promo set that's happening this month as well. You should be taking probably an ivory and a beige, just one in each formula foundation, so that you've got something to have a little bit of a play with just on the back of your hand. Illuminating drops are still in my little on-the-go thing, as are those lip pencil sticks. They're probably going to get, because I just picked up my pre-pack today, so they're probably going to get traded off for these in the not too distant future. And it sits into one of our little Mary Kay bags, and the little multi-masking sets there in there as well. And that goes everywhere with me. Okay. I like to not provide excuses for myself. If it's in the car and I've got easy access to that and I'm bumping into somebody, then that's a really easy conversation to have. It's like, hey, have you got a couple of minutes, because I've actually got some stuff in my car. Or if I'm out and about, it might be that it's actually in my bag. And rather than go home and then organise that, I will do it right there and then while I'm there, because that is less time consuming. Okay. And I do a lot of that sort of stuff when I'm out and about doing deliveries. I do see a lot of meter boxes or mail boxes, but if I do catch somebody at home by surprise, it'll be, hey, you're cool, you're home, have you got time for a couple? Okay. And that's, like, I love to catch up with my people, and I love to see what they're up to and know what's happening in their world and all of that sort of stuff. But it's also a great opportunity for, have you seen this month we've got launched? Or they might ask me, okay, because they're very much geared into that. I've got stuff usually with me, and quite often or not, they will ask, hey, you don't happen to have Honey Glow Finisher with you, do you? Okay, so once you've done it consistently for long enough, they learn that it's an expectation, and they will actually start asking you those questions, and it sort of does a full circle and comes back around, because they are expecting you to do it. Okay, and those conversations can go from, like, not expecting to necessarily see her at home or in the workplace, through to booking her and her friends back in for an appointment. Okay, if you've been disconnected from that group for a little while, that's a great, it's a great soft, easy into, rather than just picking up the phone saying, hey, we've got these new foundations, you're going to love them, would you like to book? That's any reason why we can't book in with your girlfriends. To be out and about and drop it off and actually have that conversation with her while you're face to face, I find usually drives a better result. So I like to leave no stone unturned with that sort of stuff. I've got to be out and about doing deliveries, and I don't look like this when I'm out and about doing deliveries. I'm out and about doing deliveries after I've been at the gym or all sorts of random places. So I will be in leggings, gym top, sneakers, and super casual while I'm out and about. Different story if I'm going to an appointment and I'm on purpose working, but don't be, the story is, don't be held up on how you look all the time as well, because that shouldn't be a reason to hold you back in this day and age. Okay, so on the go, and that can happen anywhere. On the go doesn't necessarily need to be on face, it can be on the back of your hand. Okay, which I think is really important. The skin analyzer is a great thing to do on the go as well. If you're not carrying that with you, you should. B, especially with new foundation launch as well, if you're not 100% sure what her skin type is or how dehydrated she might be, really good to do a skin analysis first, so that you can, because that will help you guide her in the direction of which foundation should go in. Okay, she's got a really dehydrated skin, then she's going to be better off with a luminous. Okay, that's going to be more nourishing for her. If she's throwing up a really oily result, or she might be really oily in a T-zone, whichever way her T-zone falls, but quite dry in other areas. That's going to guide you a little bit. It's going to give you a little bit of an inside information into what her skin's doing and what she might be better serviced wearing just at the minute. And just like your shade of foundation can change coming into summertime as the seasons change, so can some people's formula. So even if you've done a skin analysis over a winter season, it's sometimes good to come back to doing it in the summertime again, just to check what their skin's doing, because they might actually, not a lot, but I do have some clients that will change formula over the summer months to a different range of foundation because it's warmer, so they'll have more oils naturally sitting on their skin, especially if they're borderline, are they normal or combination in winter time. So yeah, so on the go, so always have those things with you, always have some lookbooks, always have some business cards. Mine aren't necessarily always with me because sometimes I have my mobile phone and the wallet thing that goes with my credit cards and crap in it, and that can be it. But the rest of it will be not too far away from me in the car. Okay, I like to travel pretty light during the day, so but the car's a good storage place for all that sort of stuff. On with the show. Chris has put a note there in On With The Go as well with sample packs and stuff like that. Yes, absolutely. You should have some of those made up as well, which I don't at the minute, which is a little bit naughty. But the products that I'm carrying around aren't really sample sort of products. The Honey Glow Finisher now is. Which is probably the one addition that I can add there that I'm a gap for me just at the moment is yes, we can carry sample pots of those around, absolutely. I reckon I'll probably squeeze that when I've got my stock, which has arrived this afternoon. I will use a tube just in samples that will go out in every which direction in the next little bit. So on with the show. Facebook parties, absolutely. Themed open homes, events that we hold together. All of that sort of stuff is what we call On With The Show. I sort of look at On With The Show as anything that involves 10 or more people. So Danny very much talked at our Christmas training about having Christmas reorder parties and all of that sort of stuff, where definitely there can be a bulk amount of people. So in my Mary Kay world, that would be bunkered under On With The Show, because it involves more people than just a handful of girlfriends around a kitchen table. So any event that I host at home is On With The Show, which Christmas open home or foundation matching or anything like that, because it involves 10 or more people, then definitely. And we'll be having a Facebook Live event in the not too distant future, and records show that they'll probably involve about 100 people on our past experiences with that. So all of those things bulk under that On With The Show banner, anywhere that you are with a larger group of people. Okay, Christmas cocktail hours or champagne hours or chocolate hours or whatever you want to call them, a short, snappy appointment put together with the Christmas little gift books and these awesome things that are just arriving with your Christmas packaging. That sort of stuff is on the go. Christy Ingram used to very much train on. I'm sure she still does it, because she will leave her home in Mangalore and she'll do 2 or 3 Christmas cocktail hours in one night. And she's so disciplined. It's for an hour. She's got 15 minutes to pack up, get out the door. She gets to the next house, unpacks, does the same thing, packs up again, and does that 2 or 3 times in a night. That's discipline for you, but very effective way of working. And to schedule a Saturday where you do 4 or 5 of those back to back, that's smart business. Okay, and it's smart with your time as well. Okay, and there's not, like I know with my client base just at the minute, there's no reason why I couldn't do it on a weekday, just at the minute. Okay, depends on your people and where they're at and when they're available. We can work umpteen dozen different options of hours in the world that we live in, and people are around at all sorts of random time slots. So don't be scared to offer daytime time slots during the week, because they will fill. I think I'm working more during the day this week than I think I am of a night time for the rest of the month, this month. And next week's looking the same. So don't be scared to look at that sort of stuff as well. On the face is anywhere where whether it's individual consultation, it's double appointment, it's a group of people, Doesn't matter what it is. Anywhere where you're working with product, you're actually physically sitting down with somebody and she's applying product to her face while you guide her through that, is what we call on the face. So that at the minute, massive focus on flawless foundation pampers, okay, and or it might be colour makeovers come December. It might also be skincare, because reality is I've still got some people that haven't seen for skincare for a little while, so it might be that change of season in skincare. It depends. Just because we're working with foundation at the minute doesn't necessarily mean that every single booking in your diary is foundation. You've still got to be open to the other options, otherwise your shop doors are closed to that option, and that's not healthy business either. So you still need to be keyed into, if that person doesn't want foundation, how can I be of service to her? What does she need? Okay. So it's keeping those other avenues open as well. But flawless foundation is perfect throughout this month. And what you're doing this month, you can book into November or December with the Christmas range, or a colour summer look, or a Christmas function look, or any world of options. So, but flawless foundation pamper, that is perfect for the minute, and it can come under the banner that they've never tried Mary Kay before. They're brand new to the Mary Kay world, but they've picked up on the excitement of a foundation launch and they'd love to have a bit of a play. Okay. It might be that she might have seen Mary Kay before, but it might have been a little while. Okay. Now I'm really firm in that regard. If it has been a little while, for me personally, I actually want to know that it's been 5 years plus since she's seen another consultant. Otherwise, she's referred back to that consultant. Okay, and that is longer than what most directors would recommend. However, if there's an established relationship there, it is to be respected, and there's a massive line in the sand in my world about that. So it might be that she's not seen Mary Kay for a little while. It might be that she's never used our foundation products before and that she's picked up on that excitement. It might be that you probably haven't seen her face. I don't know about you, but I've got clients that I probably haven't seen for a gazillion years. Or they just come to open home and that's where they like to be serviced and they don't want to hear from you for the rest of the year. Yeah. And I have a really great relationship with mailboxes and meter boxes, but we don't necessarily physically see each other. It's really entertaining. I had one lady just this last 12 months and she arrived at my home, opened the door, hi! I had no idea who she was for about half an hour. I hadn't seen her for 5 or 6 years. She had just divorced from her husband that she did not appreciate, which is why evidently she'd been hiding. Oh my goodness, really? She looked so different to what she had looked. She's not on social media at all, so I couldn't even, oh my goodness. I had to get her to fill in a profile card. I'm updating systems, can you fill in a profile card for me and I'll get your profile updated. And it wasn't until I got that back that I realised who she was. Yeah. So, because that can happen. But the deal is you're not allowed to feel bad about that sort of stuff because life's busy. Yeah. And you can't physically necessarily get around everybody. And it's funny because she's happy now, so I see her more often than what I've ever seen her before, but it's that cycle of life. So we might not see some people forever and a day, but all of a sudden they'll be back in our world and we see them a lot, yeah? And then they'll drift off a little bit again, and they still will reorder products and they'll do their thing, but they come back around again. It's interesting, and our 17 years in the business, and you guys will probably be seeing the same thing. It's interesting to see the cycle and the ebbs and flows. Okay, but so it can be a lot of different things. So they might have got the hype of the foundation. It might be that they've never tried Mary Kay product before. It might be that they've been distanced for a little while. Whatever the reason is that you're booking them in, it might be that they are an existing client and you'd love to rematch them for whatever reason, and you're filtering them into any one of those ways to do that. There's lots of different reasons to be connecting out and touching base with people for on-the-face stuff. Okay. Not everybody will want to see you for face-to-face stuff. Okay. And that's okay. Okay. People will love a lookbook or a link or a sample or a packet in their mailbox. Okay. But they don't necessarily always want to see you face-to-face. Okay, there's a good story behind that. don't be off-put by the people that you don't see for a gazillion years, because then they rock back up into your world. They've never really gone anywhere, but you just get to see them face-to-face again all of a sudden and work with them. So face-to-face is awesome, and it's definitely where we drive the best result, because we are doing the same thing with more people and it's more value for our time. But on the line, on the paper, on the guide and on the show should hold their own weight as well. Okay. That's it. That's all I've got for you. That's a lot of information in a very short window of time.